Amateur Radio News and Notes for Friday, June 20th, 2025. I'm Ed Kabik, November 2, Echo Charlie. In the log this week, we'll be talking about ARRL Field Day, which is happening next weekend. Also talk about some MVARC Nets on the air, see what's happening with DX, get a solar activity update, talk about some upcoming contests, and of course, talk about interesting online radio content. The biggest event in amateur radio will be happening next weekend on June 28th to 29th, so save that date. The ARRL predicts over 31,000 amateurs will be setting up to test their skills and preparedness in this popular annual operating event. And MVARC will be operating at a new location this year as a 5A station, and we're excited to join in the fun. There'll be a lot more information on the event next week here on Amateur Radio News and Notes. Until then, more information can be found at arrl.org/field-day. We hope to see you out in the field and on the air. Good luck. And now it's time to talk about some MVARC Nets on the air. We have our 2-meter FM net Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on the repeater, immediately followed by our 2-meter digital net on the same frequency using Yaesu System Fusion C4 FM. Then on the weekends, we've got the MVARC Slow Speed CW Roundtable on Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 a.m. on 3.565 megahertz CW. Of course, we will go whatever speed you're comfortable at, usually about 12 to 15 words a minute. And then that is followed by the Cherry Tree Net on Saturday and Sundays at 8:30 a.m. on 3.920 megahertz lower sideband, where we have wide-ranging fun conversation, and you are always welcome to join us. Now let's talk about what will be happening with DX. There will be a good amount of it on the bands this week. Stations on the air will include Palau, Turkmenistan, St. Kitts Island, Greenland, Tarawa Kiribati, Tokelau, Kuwait, Falkland Islands, and Antarctica. A calendar of DX expeditions can be found at dxnews.com/calendar. And now it's time for a solar activity update. As we go to press, the solar flux index was 137, and the estimated sunspot number was 120, with 6 numbered sunspot regions visible here on Earth. Over the last week, the SFI stayed about the same, and solar activity reached high levels on Thursday as an X-class flare of X 1.91 hit the Earth. That caused an R3 radio blackout last night. Geomagnetic field was at quiet to unsettled levels, and the KP was at 4 yesterday, going to 3 last night. The solar wind reached 692 kilometers a second. NOAA forecasts that minor G1 storms are likely today with a peak KP of 4 forecast. The chance of solar radiation storms at the S1 or greater level is low at 10%. R1 to R2 radio blackouts are expected in the near term with a predicted probability of 70%, and R3 or greater blackouts are possible with a 20% chance predicted. There's a chance of 6-meter propagation, so keep an eye on the band and spotting clusters to be ready the next time the magic band does its thing. HF conditions have been favorable overall, and it remains a fantastic time for amateurs of all license classes to get on the air and work the world. Good sources of real-time solar information include spaceweatherlive.com and solarham.com. Good information about conditions can be found at dx.qsl.net/propagation. To see D-layer absorption data and associated radio blackouts, visit the NOAA DRAP page. And to see real-time maximum usable frequency and critical frequency, or FOF2 information from Radio Sun data, visit prop.kc2ga.com. And now for a quick look at some upcoming contests. On the contest calendar this weekend, we can look forward to the All-Asian DX contest on CW, the SMERC contest, the Pajajaran Boger DX contest, the SKCC QSO party, the IARU Region 150 MHz contest, the LZ International 6-meter contest, the Stu Perry Top Band Challenge, the West Virginia QSO party, ARRL Kids Day, the Tel Sprint, the WAB 50 MHz phone contest, and, as always, the K1USN SSTs, the MSTs, and the CWTs will also be on the air. The full contest calendar with events and exchanges can be found at contestcalendar.com. And now let's finish up with a little interesting online radio content. Dr. Tamitha Skov catches us up on some big flares and recent solar conditions. Mark KD7DTS takes us along to see the Queens of the Mountains activate SOTA. Forrest KI7QCF shows us the FC80 snap-on tuner for the Yaesu FTX1. Thomas K4SWL has a relaxing lakeside POTA on CW. Save It for Parts installs some mesh-tastic gear on top of a silo. Mike K8MRD takes a look at an operating mat from Quirky QRP. Matt M0DQW takes a look at the Alliance H1 DMR-HT. Steve KM9G looks at the Heltec Mesh Pocket Mesh-tastic node and phone charger. Matt M0DQW takes a look at the Skyroof satellite tracking software. Josh KI6NAZ builds the loading coil designed by Adam K6ARK for his Elecraft KH1. Sebastian KI2D talks to ERA N6ARA about SOTA and Ham2K portable logger. James N0WRL talks to Mark M0DXR about WRTC 2026. Steve KM9G installs 73 Linux on a small form factor PC. Steve VE6WZ builds a 75-foot vertical antenna. Kevin W1DED talks to K6KJN about the Digital Library of Amateur Radio Communications, or DLARC. Ed W4EMB sends a Father's Day message in Morse code. Kevin KB9RLW measures his QRPP's rig output using an oscilloscope. Ramon EA5IW takes us up a mountain for some QRP fun. Lydiette KQ3Q makes her first 6-meter QSO with a BNC binding post. Becky N4BKY and Mike N4FFF announced their new automated QSL service. James Kilo Echo 8 Papa Zulu November works the SO50 satellite. Kevin 2E0 Whiskey Mike Golf has some trouble with a boost converter and his FX4CR. Alan W2AEW reviews the Ham Radio Duo Straight Key. Tim K5OHY talks batteries for POTA. And IMSI Guy uses an oscilloscope to look at coax delay and impedance. Well, that is it for this week. I have been Ed, November 2 Echo Charlie for Amateur Radio News and Notes. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We hope you have a great week ahead. Best 73, and we look forward to seeing you next week.